In stage 3, students learn how to place vibrato into a musical context. Vibrato is an expressive device. The ability to play with a consistent vibrato is essential for the string player. Learning vibrato is not difficult if the joints are flexible and free from tension. Learning to use vibrato as an effective expressive device takes considerable practice and a developed sense of musical judgment. There are 3 stages of vibrato development. In the first stage, the teacher should develop an expectation in the student's ears by modeling for the students a beautiful sound with vibrato. This can begin from day 1. In stage 2, students learn the mechanics of vibrato. In stage 3, students learn how to place vibrato into a musical context. One game to try is practicing the motion on the collarbone. Reach the arm out, fingers straight. Bend at the elbow and place the fingers on the sternum, chest, or collarbone area. Keep the fingertip in place and rotate the forearm down and back. This produces the vibrato motion. Vibrate on the collarbone area and then transfer the motion to the instrument. A second game is to place the left thumb in the center of the right palm and gently close. Keep the fingertip in place and rotate the forearm down and back to produce the vibrato motion. Students can also try this game with the thumb and fingers placed on the right forearm. This game is useful to promote relaxation in the left hand and arm and to prevent squeezing with the thumb. Polishing the string is a great game for developing vibrato. This is easiest on the second finger. Start by polishing a large area, moving the hand up and down the neck in a shifting type of motion. Gradually make the area being polished smaller and smaller until the finger focuses on a spot. Plant the thumb and press the finger to the fingerboard while keeping the polishing motion. All joints in the hand must be flexible and loose for vibrato to occur. The teacher can operate the bow so the student can hear the result of their vibrato. Note in the video that the source of the vibrato is arm motion, not wrist or finger motion. The wrist and fingers need to be flexible, but the motion comes from the rotation of the lower arm. The wobble exercise can also be used to develop vibrato. This is easiest on the second finger. Start from the note, keeping the fingertip in place, and rotate the forearm down and back. Start at a slow tempo with a quarter note wobble, then double to 8th note wobbles, and then double to 16th note wobbles. Gradually increase the tempo, learning to control the speed of the vibrato. As the number of wobbles per beat is increased, full vibrato speed will be achieved. All joints in the hand must be flexible and loose for vibrato to occur. If students start to lock up or freeze, they should slow down the tempo. Once students have begun to develop vibrato, it is important for them to practice playing with vibrato on all 4 fingers of the left hand. Ask them to play simple scale patterns using vibrato on every note. Students need to learn to vary the speed and the width of vibrato in order to use vibrato as an expressive device.
And you can twist it back and forth like you're jiggling the doorknob, impatiently trying to get into a room. So now let's transfer that. It's the same thing, but you can't rotate as far because you've got the fingerboard in the way. And you want to make sure you're doing a very vertical motion, okay? You're sort of aiming down towards the floor, following the line of the string. So when you go down, you should feel the back of your hand hit the fingerboard, and then when you go up, you should feel the side of your index finger, that part of your hand, hit the fingerboard. It's a very exaggerated motion that I'm teaching you right now. So down, up, up. It's the same thing with first finger. So if you put your first finger down on the fingerboard, rotate your forearm down towards the floor in that doorknob motion. So now with fourth finger is going to be a little bit different. Because that finger is not as strong and because of where it's located on the hand, I find that I really can't do the doorknob motion very well. So what I do instead is more of an up and down kind of motion. So I plant my third and my fourth finger down for this, just for a little bit added strength. And I do this up and down motion, kind of like a hand shaking motion, like I'm shaking somebody's hand with my left hand for some reason, in a really awkward grip, like this. But still, the motion is all coming from the forearm. You're moving everything all together as one. So the first thing, when you get up here, your thumb is obviously going to be on the fingerboard. So you're still going to do that doorknob twisting kind of motion where you're rotating your forearm, but you can't go as far because your thumb is here, right? So you're mostly going to feel it on the tip of your fingers rather than in the palm of your hand, which is where I feel it in the lower positions. Another thing, it's not as vertical as it is in the lower positions. In the lower positions, right, you're going straight down vertically, but because of the way that your hand is shaped in thumb position, you're actually going to do diagonally outward. So if you think about going about 45 degrees away from the string. And so with second finger, it's the same thing. And third finger, same kind of deal. Okay, now let's talk about thumb vibrato because that is quite different than anything else. The way that you do thumb vibrato is you plant your thumb down on the fingerboard, and I like to move my hand with my forearm, right, up and down, and that sort of makes my thumb rotate like this and gives a nice, really wide vibrato. Now, thumb vibrato is exceptionally difficult to get used to, but if you just treat it differently and practice it this way, like you're rotating or rolling, then I think you'll get used to it. You should be able to hear a distinct difference in the pitch when you go down and up. Okay, so let's do that now. So you can hear a big difference between the upward motion and the downward motion. So now, once you get used to that, let's do eighth notes. And you want to make sure that you're always moving in this exaggerated kind of motion, so your hand is hitting the fingerboard down and then hitting the fingerboard again when you go back up. Now let's do triplets. Now sixteenths. Okay, so I would do this on every single finger. It's the same. And let's do quarter notes first. Now eighths. Now triplets. Now sixteenths. Okay, so I like to do this in places like the end of the 4A elegy, where it's really dramatic. I think it conveys a sense of heaviness that I really can't get with just maybe a little bit more forward pressing. You can speed up the tempo. Keep that width, but speed up the actual motion to create that sense of urgency. If you want something a little bit lighter, you can keep that speed that we just did, but also make it a little bit thinner. I think with the right bow stroke, that can sound really, really nice. You're right at the beginning of the note. I do that a lot, where I finish a run with a long note, and I just wait to let the vibrato sink in. It sort of creates a little bit of tension, and it can also create a little bit of a crescendo, or help you if you're trying to do a crescendo anyway. But you can also use vibrato as an accent at the beginning of the note. If you just give it a little punch at the beginning, you don't even have to do anything with the bow. There, I didn't even do anything. I didn't dig in at all. That was all with the vibrato motion.